Breaking news. At around 3 a.m., the United States and Israel launched major airstrikes on Tehran, the capital of Iran, targeting missile factories, nuclear sites, and IRGC military bases. Some reports say the strikes were also meant to target Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei, but there is still no confirmation about his condition. In response, Iran fired ballistic missiles at U.S. bases in the Middle East, including a direct strike on an American naval base in Bahrain. Iran also launched many missiles toward Israel, with explosions reported near Tel Aviv and Haifa. Missiles were also seen heading toward areas near Qatar, Bahrain, and the UAE, while warning sirens sounded in parts of Saudi Arabia. U.S. and allied air defenses tried to stop the attack and reportedly intercepted many of the missiles, but several still reached their targets. U.S. officials say more strikes on Iran could happen in the coming days, while Iran says it will continue attacking Israel, raising fears that this conflict could turn into a larger war. Follow for more updates on this developing situation.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has been killed in U.S.-Israeli strikes. Iran is now launching wave after wave of missiles and drones, targeting U.S. bases across the Middle East, and signals it won't stop. Now the Middle East is burning, missiles, drones, and fear from every direction as the entire region is being pulled into war. Iran is in rage mode after U.S.-Israeli strikes reportedly targeted sites linked to Iran's top leaders. In retaliation, Iran reportedly targeted areas around U.S. military bases in Bahrain, the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait, as air defenses across the region went fully active. Most of Iran's missiles and drones were intercepted, but some still got through and caused damage, including a reported hit on a U.S. Fifth Fleet Service Center in Bahrain. Some unconfirmed reports allege strikes hit civilian buildings in Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. Videos are circulating on social media. Iran says the U.S.-Israeli strikes have left 201+ dead and 747 wounded, and reports from Iranian sources describe a school strike that killed dozens of students. Now it comes down to America's next step, and it could be deadly because the U.S. has encircled the Middle East with overwhelming military power on land and across the waters. Want to learn map animation? Join our course, link in bio.
How did the US and Israel launch a preemptive strike against Iran? Well, they used a devastating tactic called time on target. With 2 aircraft carriers and a fleet of destroyers, they calculated the exact math so Israeli jets and US cruise missiles hit their marks at the exact same second. Israel's main goal is assassinating Khamenei and the top leadership, while the US pounded military targets and other high-value industry. But why did Iranian air defenses fail to activate? Because the US fights with a different kind of technology using electronic warfare from space, sea, and air. They completely blinded the Iranian radar just as destroyers launched a swarm of cruise missiles to wipe out the anti-air systems. But wait, the war is still not over. Iran still has thousands of ballistic missiles and drones, so they've hit American and Middle East allied bases, and right now, almost everyone is an open target. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched a major coordinated military offensive against Iran. Israeli officials have called their offensive Operation Roar of the Lion, while the US operation has been referred to as Operation Epic Fury. The message behind the Israel and US strike was clear. This wasn't just a show of force. This was a targeted move to assassinate the supreme leader of Iran. As stated, this wasn't just a random military strike. The ultimate target was the supreme leader's own compound. Missiles dialed in on highly sensitive areas. We're talking specifically around University Street, the Jamhuri district, and near Pastor Street. If you know the layout of Tehran, you know exactly what this means. This zone isn't just another neighborhood. It is the absolute nerve center of the Iranian government. It houses the primary, day-to-day offices of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. But here's the catch. The IDF says they got him. And Iranian military says Khamenei was not inside his offices when the missiles actually made an impact. The strike may have leveled the compound, but the target slipped away. And right now, the entire region is holding its breath waiting to see what happens next. But reports says Israel says Khamenei's body has been found and he is confirmed dead. Listen, that first wave, it didn't hold back, not even a little. We're talking about a perfectly synchronized, overwhelming assault. The entire goal was to blind and cripple the regime all at once. First they hit Karaj, just completely ripping through their critical industrial and aerospace hubs. Then Tehran, the capital, rocked. Any illusion of safety they had was just completely shattered. They didn't stop there. They struck home, sending absolute shockwaves right through the ideological heart of the country. And if you follow this stuff, you know exactly how heavily fortified that area is. Over in the west, missiles literally rained down on Kermanshah. They neutralized those launch sites before the operators could even think about powering up their radars. And then there's Isfahan, the absolute crown jewel of their nuclear and drone programs. Heavily defended, didn't matter, it just lit up the night sky. But how did the US and Israel actually pull off a preemptive strike on Iran? First of all, look at this map. To make this happen, they didn't just rely on local land bases. They brought 2 massive floating cities right to Iran's doorstep. Down in the Arabian Sea, you've got the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group bearing down on the south and east. And over in the eastern Mediterranean, the biggest newest ship USS Gerald R. Ford. While Israeli jets flew all the way across the Middle East to reach Iranian airspace, timing was absolutely critical. The moment those IDF jets reached their marks, the missiles were released. And that brings us to the most terrifying, complicated part of this entire operation, the synchronization. Military planners rely on a tactic called time on target. Look at this map. You have missiles firing from submarines, cruise missiles launching from escort ships, and massive payload drops from stealth bombers. They are all deploying from completely different locations at entirely different times. But here is the genius of it. The US military machine was mathematically choreographed so everything impacted Kairaj, Tehran, Qom, Kermanshah, and Isfahan at the exact same second the Israeli jets dropped their guided bombs. It was designed to be a total systemic shock and explodes at the same time. A move to collapse the regime instantly. When those munitions finally hit, it was pure shock and awe. But why did the Iranian air defenses fail to activate? Well, to put it simply, the US military operates in a completely different league. Using a highly advanced mix of electronic warfare and cyber operations, coordinated from space to the ground, the coalition was able to inject false data directly into Iranian radar screens. Top-tier Iranian air defense systems like their homegrown Baver and their Russian-supplied batteries were absolutely overwhelmed by this electronic assault. But to actually hunt them down, the US set a brilliant trap. They launched hundreds of ABM-160 MALDs, miniature air-launched decoys. To a panicked Iranian radar operator staring at a chaotic screen, these tiny drones look exactly like a massive squadron of A-15s or F-16s screaming toward the capital. With the door kicked wide open, fifth-generation stealth fighters, including both US and Israeli F-35s with possible F-22 Raptors, sliced through the airspace completely undetected. Ultimately, the Iranian air defense network wasn't just suppressed.